Hi everyone, I'm Patrick and you're watching the 5th episode of the Registry Monetary System. Serena and I prepared some examples that we're going to run through at a faster pace to reiterate what we've learned so far and to lead us up to our goal to learn about the new currency I mentioned at the end of the last episode called Transients. So let's get to it. Let's say we're a member of the registry committing to selling 6 pieces of food to a market. We need to figure out how much each piece of food should cost our customers. Given that the cost should not change for each piece of food, there's a formula we can define that will optimize how much each purchaser should have to pay to maximize the amount of charge we can convert to exchange, such that we exhaust it all once the last piece of food gets sold. It looks like this, and it's scary math, but software can make this much easier. In this example, we have 21 charge and a supply of 6 pieces of food, so this works out to a price of 1 exchange. We can back that up with 6 charge, and the registry converts the purchaser's exchange into value and our charge into exchange. Now remember, no currency ever changed hands. The registry converted it, and the owners remain the same. Now let's watch as the next customer offers 1 exchange to purchase the next piece of food. With 1 less food for sale, we offer only 5 charge this time instead of 6 to back up the cost. The purchaser's 1 exchange turns into value, and our 5 charge turns into exchange. With the transaction complete, the customer gets the food, and we have only 4 food left for sale now. And this process repeats. As a seller, we've done pretty good. By only selling 2 pieces of food, we almost converted half of our charge. For the next customer, we offer 4 charge to back up their 1 exchange. Their exchange turns into value, and our charge to exchange, and they get the food. Now let's watch as the remaining 3 pieces of food get sold. With 3 left, we only offer 3 charge per exchange. Next, with only 2 pieces of food left, we only offer 2 charge. Again, each customer's exchange turns into value. Finally, with the last piece of food for sale, we can only offer 1 charge to back up the 1 exchange. All food has been sold, and there are no customers left, and everyone's happy. Now let's try another example, but this time with 2 competing members in the registry, each offering to sell their own food to the market. The members agree to use the same category of food, so the metrics of supply for both are considered during each transaction. Like before, each member has 21 charge, and they will each perform the same calculation to determine the price, and each seller commits to 6 pieces of food, so each piece of food will require each purchaser to present 1 exchange. The first customer chooses their vendor and offers 1 exchange to purchase a piece of food. Since there are 12 pieces of food for sale, the seller presents 12 charge to back up the cost. This is 6 more than the individual seller committed to because of the 6 more offered by her competitor, who used the same category. The seller's 12 charge converts to exchange, and the purchaser's 1 exchange converts into value. Now let's see as the next customer chooses the competing vendor. The seller offers 11 charge to back up the 1 exchange of the purchaser, because there is now 1 less piece of food for sale, but this was from the competitor's supply. Charge converts to exchange, and exchange to value again. Now let's assume that one of the sellers, the lady in the black dress, chooses to purchase goods from her competitor, Hello Kitty. It's going to cost her 1 exchange, but notice how I take that exchange from the lady in the black dress's pile that she had converted from charge from the sale of her last piece of food. Hello Kitty offers up 10 charge to back up the lady in the black dress's 1 exchange. There's no difference in terms of supply here. Hello Kitty's charge turns into exchange, and the lady in the black dress's exchange turns into value. But notice how I put it back on her stack of charge here, because she can use this to back up the price of her next piece of food she wishes to sell, if she chooses. So let's say the next customer decides to purchase from the lady in the black dress, and she decides to back up the cost with her value instead of charge. Remember, we do not consider the supply like we do with charge when we use value to back up the cost. 1 value always backs up 1 exchange. Obviously, the lady in the black dress would have been better off to convert her charge instead of value in this case. Let's see why. Let's assume instead she decided to use her charge. Because there were 9 pieces of food for sale, she would have been able to use all 9 of her remaining charge. But now what? Both sellers have exhausted all of their charge and value, but there are still more pieces of food to sell. So what now? Well, on to our next example. Let's assume we have a seller who has exhausted all of their charge and value, but still has something they are willing to sell, and there are members willing to spend their exchange to purchase it. Let us now introduce a new currency called Transients.
Okay.
Members can use their exchange to purchase Transients from the registry, and their exchange gets converted to value just like every other time they get used. Transients have owners like all other types of currency that never changes. But here's the kicker. For Transients, that ownership isn't defined until they are purchased, and can be assigned by the purchaser to either the purchaser themselves or any other member of the registry. Members cannot use Transients for anything other than purchasing the next type of currency, called Transient Exchange, and they're blue.
Okay.
Transient Exchange works exactly like regular exchange, where you can present them to the registry during transactions, but instead of getting converted to value, they are destroyed by the registry once used. So anytime exchange can be used in the registry, you can instead use Transient Exchange, except once they are used, they are destroyed. You can buy Transient Exchange from the registry for the price of 1 more transient than the amount of Transient Exchange you currently own. Let's see an example. Our purchaser already spent 1 exchange to give our seller 1 transient. That seller can use that transient to purchase their first Transient Exchange, since it costs 1 more transient than the total amount of Transient Exchange currently owned, which equals 0. The purchaser will now spend 1 more exchange to purchase a transient and give it to the seller. That exchange converts to value as normal. Our seller now has 1 Transient Exchange and 1 transient. She cannot purchase another Transient Exchange because it will cost her 2 transients to do so. So, our purchaser spends another exchange to give our seller another transient. Now our seller can purchase a Transient Exchange at a cost of 2 transients. And this process continues. Imagine another purchaser wanted to give more currency to the seller to beat out the other member in a competition. He would have to spend 3 exchange for the seller to receive 1 more Transient Exchange. Each successive Transient Exchange will cost the purchaser 1 more than the last. Now let's see what it would look like to use Transient Exchange to purchase something. Let's say our lady in the black dress here wants to purchase this cake, and the seller has a large amount of value to back up the cost. Normally, the lady in the black dress would present exchange to back up each value, but let's assume she chooses to use 2 of her Transient Exchange instead. As mentioned, you can use Transient Exchange at any point where exchange can be used. So this converts the seller's value into exchange as usual. The regular exchange of our purchaser gets converted to value, but the Transient Exchange is destroyed by the registrar. So Transient and Transient Exchange was designed into the registry so that it would essentially destroy money during times of scarcity and competition, which is the inverse of what happens when we print money to create an incentive for abundance. So it becomes progressively harder and harder to accumulate a high amount of wealth in the registry. So you might think that this is a problem. We're going to learn more about that when we introduce our next kind of currency called progress dollars in the next episode. Thanks for watching.